We're dealing with tree diagrams in this video, and that is section 2.5 of the Edexcel Year 2 Applied textbook. And tree diagrams are something that come up at GCSE and things, so if you stumbled across this video, this is specifically for the Year 2 Applied part of the A-level, the Edexcel A-level course. So, what I'd recommend with tree diagrams is, first of all, go back to your GCSE revision book, remember the GCSE tree diagrams questions, because those really will solve everything you need to know with tree diagrams here. What's new is that we need to know this new notation that we've been looking at in this chapter. So with a tree diagram, I can finally do a generalized tree diagram without needing to have any numbers on this. The first event happens. We'll call the first event A. Why not? So it either happens or it doesn't happen. Okay? The probability of A goes on this branch, the probability of A not happening goes on this branch. Now if A has happened, then B can happen or B can not happen. And this branch is the probability of B happening, but I already know that A has not happened. So B happening given that B happening, but I already know that A has happened. So this is the probability of B happening given A. This is the probability of B not happening given A. And then these follow down here, don't they? So B happens, B doesn't happen. That's the probability of B happening given that A didn't happen. This is the probability of B not happening given that A didn't happen. Okay? So conditional probabilities, you may well be sort of intuitively aware of, even though we've introduced them in this chapter, you are intuitively aware of them from Venn diagrams. From tree diagrams. Now, what you'll find at A level is most probability questions can be answered by drawing either a tree diagram or a Venn diagram. And with those two things, you have to throw in the fact that you might need to use the formulas that you saw in section 2.4. Okay, so tree diagram, Venn diagram, formulas. Between those three, you can answer probably 80–85% of traditional A-level questions. I do need to point out that this is a new syllabus. We don't have many past papers. If you've been watching several of my videos, you've seen me say that a few times. We don't know for definite what the new sort of structure of these things is going to be. Maybe they'll be a bit more inventive, but so far, over the last sort of 15 years of A-level papers, if you can do tree diagrams and Venn diagrams, and you know the formulas, and then you use a bit of sort of general sense about how probabilities work, you can answer the questions. So as you read a question, what you need to be asking yourself is this best served with a tree diagram or with a Venn diagram? And sometimes the answer is either will do. Sometimes the answer is tree diagram is going to work best. Sometimes the answer is Venn diagram. So if you're on an exam and you try the tree diagram and you don't seem to be getting the answer, switch, try a Venn diagram. Okay? It's nice if you get the right diagram first, but if you get the wrong diagram first, there's only two choices, so try the other one. And if neither of those is working, try the formulas, and if you're still stuck, read the question again, maybe look for a sample space diagram or a two-way table or anything else you can kind of come up with, because at that point, it's probably an unusual question. Okay? I don't think there's very much else to say, other than if you read through the questions here, and if you forget that you're in an A-level textbook, you'll find not all of them, but quite a few of these questions could be nasty GCSE grade 8 or 9 questions, right? There's not necessarily going to be anything to do with this A and A dash and B dash and conditional probability in the questions. A lot of the time you can read through the question and it's things that you could have done at GCSE. Not always, but let's say some of the time rather than a lot of the time. That's useful information because you think, well, that means the tree diagrams are easy. Think about it this way, though. What makes them difficult is there's now another kind of way of solving these. If you're reading these questions from scratch, if it wasn't in a tree diagram question exercise, if it wasn't in exercise 2E, but in mixed exercise 2, this would be a much harder question, because you wouldn't, before you even start question 8 or question 9 or question 7, you know that you use a tree diagram to answer it. If you saw it on a mixed exercise, it would be a bit harder. So try and do the exercise with that in mind. What is there about the question that identifies it as being a tree diagram kind of a question? Sometimes it is straightforward because they say, in the first part, draw a tree diagram. But imagine that bit wasn't there, as it often isn't in the exam. Is there anything that would hint you towards a tree diagram? Okay. And that, I think, is the end of the chapter.